Hey guys, this is Harold. I'm really excited about this printer build. We got a lot of work cut out for us on Saturday, November the 5th, but it'll be great. It'll be great. I decided to make a video of the things you need for building the printer. And not that you need all of these things. I know there's lots of things that come with the printer. The printer itself will have a number of Allen wrenches and other things to help you, and a wrench for the eccentric nuts, and a few other things that'll make it where you can build a printer. However, I find that if you want to some of these are really necessary. Bring just for the going forward fact, going forward, because there's a lot of people in the class. If you would like to bring these, fine. I will point out which I think are very necessary, and those that which are optional. And I'll point them out as I go. Although if you will get all the necessary ones and the optional ones, I think you'll have a better time going this, and just your hands will be easier. Your hands will be easier as well. So this is something you don't need. This was inherited from my dad. He used to work it he used to use it when he was at Marathon Laterno. Butch was his name. Pulcher. They like to inscribe their etch their names into things. So there's a lot of people using a lot of tools, and their tools all end up getting used. So this thing would probably turn your whole printer just by itself. But this is not what we're going to be using. Just so you know, you will not be using anything this large on your printer. Let me set this to the side. One of the must-have things, if you're in 3D printing, I believe it's a must-have thing, is a caliper. This is a Husky, but any digital caliper will work. Now, if you want to go analog, that's fine. That's up to you. I prefer the digital ones because my eyes are not as good as they once were, and using the vernier on the analog ones are a little difficult. So there's a few things I like about this. In fact, I like a lot about it. It's in the case. Normally this thing's not in the case because I'm using it, measuring things, making sure things are okay. On button here, a few things. The better ones, which this was a fairly expensive one. I think this was like upwards of $29, maybe $39. But it does a lot of good stuff, and I really, really like it a lot. It does millimeters. It does inches, decimal inches. It has a tare feature, which is always great for doing differentials, and it also goes into fractions, so you can get to 11/64 if you want. I'm really in millimeters most of the time. In case you've never used a calipers before, these outer jaws here for measuring outside, these big jaws. These jaws here for measuring inside, and you can even measure depth by the bottom extends to measure depth, so you can see how deep it is. Right? So really handy tool. We will be using that thing to make sure our prints are the right size when we're doing the calibration. And yes, this is something you need to get. I'll give you a link to this one specifically if you want, and a link to a couple of more. Most of the things you'll see today you can get at a big box store, Northern Tools, Big Box, Home Depot, Lowe's, Northern Tool. You can go to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has some decent tools there as well. This one in particular goes down to 0.03 millimeters, which is more than enough for what we need to be doing right now. Okay, we'll go down the list of some other things that my dad's crescent wrench you don't need. However, a crescent wrench like this will come in handy, and we're only going to use it for 1 or 2 items, and it will be mostly wide. There's something very hot called the hot end on the heat block on the hot end that we're going to need to hold on to while we're doing some tightening while the thing is hot. And when I mean hot, it's going to be approximately 190 to 210 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be really, really hot, and you want to be able to hold on to that while you're tightening the last little bit. We're talking very last little bit of the nut that is going to be your nozzle. And speaking of that, you'll need to get a very small set of, where did I have all these laid out nice and pretty. Very small set of open end wrenches, millimeter size. This is an 8 millimeter, which is probably the most common that you'll be using. It's the nuts holding on the wheels for all of the various carriages that you'll be using. You'll be using this a lot. You will not be twisting with that, however, but you will be holding things stationary with this. This is 8 millimeter. 10 millimeters is about the biggest you need. 5 is about the smallest, and that will do you good. That in conjunction with this small crescent wrench will be fine. If you have a bigger one than that or a smaller one than that, that's fine. But you probably need to get about an inch and a half worth of. Maybe that's only an inch and a quarter, but that should be fine enough to be able to hold on to the heat block when we go to tightening up the nozzle. Again, this is actually a Craftsman. Yeah, Dad would be proud of me. See what else you're gonna need. You're gonna need stuff to. When we're talking tools here, this is one of my favorite things to get. Tools, and more tools. This is a set of tools from iFixit. It has approximately 51 tool ends on it. What you care about in this thing are the Allen wrench settings. You don't have to get this. This is not necessary at all. However, by the time the end of the day comes along, you're dealing with those little Allen wrenches. After a while, I get something called Allen wrench thumb, which is where I'm putting force on the small end of the wrench. It gets kind of sore. You'll just find that if you have a handle, I've got a couple of these around that I use interchangeably because they all fit the same. One of them because they all fit the same hole. I've got several of these handles and they'll all fit the same handle. Different handles interchangeable. I use these a lot. I got this at Fry's, about 25 bucks or so, and I'll find a link for that. Again, you don't need all of these. What you really care about is you want to make sure you get an Allen wrench that goes from a 4 millimeter all the way down to 1.3, 1.5, 2.0. I know you're going to need something as small as a 1.3. So, as small as a 1.3? Whatever 564 translates into. Just because there's one set of set screws that use that, and the supplied Allen wrenches are a little, let's just say, not as accurate, not as precise as I would like them to be. Okay, the other thing that you can get instead of that, if you're just going to get a bunch of Allen wrenches, these things work pretty good too. In this case, this is a ASE American, and these, oh no, take that back. That's metric. This is American. I got it wrong. Got it backwards. I got 3 of these, which included a torque set for like $9 at Harbor Freight. I will find a link for these. These are acceptable. You probably have some of these hanging around your house if you're anything like me. All right, moving on. You're going to need to cut things. And when I say cut things, I do mean cut things, as opposed to squish them down. For instance, these are not very taken care of. Needle nose pliers. Hey, they got a cut on them. I'm not talking about these right now. I'm talking about, because some people call them, you can get the ones standalone, just diagonal cutters. Yes, you will need some of these, but you really need to cut things. There's a couple of things that need to be cut and left round, and you can do that several ways. Utility knife, sharp. Everybody probably has one. You got one of these too, box cutters. Apparently TSA doesn't allow you anywhere near. Don't just fly into the airport. My favorites though are these. My X-Acto knives. That's a brand name. Everybody has some of them, but basically, sometimes people refer to them as hobby knives. If you have a set, you can get a big set if you want, or just a blade and a couple of these things. For the build this time, one of these will be fine if you have one. If you want to ahead and get some of these, that's okay too. And even one of these box cutters is fine. You just need to be very sharp, and so you can be precise. I know there's one of you out there who's going to be doing some precise stuff. You know who you are, Michael Perry. So we're going to attempt to get him a cool model on his first or second print. So that should be awesome. So that's it for cutting. Now, there may be some more cuttings, but that's it for right now. All right, you'll need a pair of needle nose pliers. That's a good size to get. It's a little bigger size. The bigger size will be all right too. Yeah, I think you'll find that on the couple of things we need to do, these smaller ones will do a better job of holding on to the nuts in a kind of a small place and putting enough pressure and hold on them for you to screw them tight. I do have one flat blade screwdriver. If you have one of these, you have it covered. If you have any of the multi-tools, you have it covered. I'm sure with the little bit of thing we need to do there, it's easy enough to pass around some of those things. I'll make sure I've got a couple of those thin flat blade screwdrivers we can use. All right, next up. Dun, 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 dun. What else we need? Oh, you need marking things. I've got two things marking. I got a permanent marker here and a pencil. If you'd like to bring on a highlighter, which you can use a highlighter as well, in a couple of instances it will come in handy. But you're going to need to be able to mark just a couple of things, not a whole lot. One, like when which way the print comes off. When you're printing a square and you pull the square off the block, which one was facing forward and which side, and that sort of thing is a little bit difficult to go. So something to mark with. We'll have some stuff to mark with, but you may want to bring your own. In fact, you probably want this anyway till you figure out what's going on. All right, let's see what else. Oh, more cutty things. More cutty things. You're going to need some wire strippers and a crimper. I'm going to have some examples here. This is the bad dog daddy. What happens is, see those jaws? They grab the insulation, and then with a one quick motion, they'll separate it out for you. It's easy enough to do that. I don't have. Oh, I got something. Yeah, right here. Oh, come on. We're going to use this for something else in a second. Right there. I'll just strip that wire off. We're ready to go do some things, do some damage. All right. So one of the wire strippers, and then I got another wire stripper right here, and it works just fine. Well, I cut that one. Sorry. Went too crazy. That works just fine too. So just to show you, it'll get the job done. Not a big deal. This thing has a couple of cool things about it. Not only is it a crimper, a stripper, it's also a crimper. You'll notice right here, you have a cut and you have a crimper, which we'll be doing just a little bit of crimping, and you will need some kind of thing to do a crimp. You can use your needle nose pliers to do the crimping if you like. It's fine. So let's talk about these others. This is a little less expensive wire stripper. It has different gauges for the holes. It has a cutter. It also has at the very end some teeth so you can do some crimping. So it does all those same functions that the other one did. It just works a little differently. I'll have some links to that. And at the very last little bit, yes, I collect these things. That's another needle nose pliers there, and it does have some cutting things, and you can really strip things if you want to, and it's because it's got a knife and strip and other things. However, this will make your day a very long day, but it is a usable thing. All right, what else? Bum, bum, ba-dum. Oh, yeah. You'll need to have some kind of scraper. For you guys into scrapbooking, your wives already have something like this for your crickets. And if your wife doesn't have a cricket yet, don't mention it. Trust me, don't mention it to her. It's a way to move parts off the bed. You'll need one. I prefer the metal ones over the plastic ones, just because the metal ones tend to be a little more thin. If you'd like to get more fancy than that, that's one of the inexpensive ones I found. This has got some stuff from the ABS slurry, a little more fancier one, but it has a little bit more of an edge on it than this one, but they all work. They all work pretty well. Okay, let's see what else. Oh, yeah. You're going to need something for squaring. My friend Jonathan said he's never used a square in his life to build any of his 3D printers. I'll believe him, but I'll call that I don't actually believe him so much. So these two things here are squares. They'll work perfectly fine. They were $1.99 at Fry's. I'm not going to recommend them necessarily, but they will work fine, and they will do, because they do have a 90-degree angle on them. They are a bit flimsy. The 60-degree, 30-degree, 30-60 triangle here is pretty good, but it's a little bit too large because you're going to have to do some inside angles, but it'll be okay. You'll get by. The 45-45 out of the same set is a much more workable thing going on. And that one's only 160, just over 160 millimeters tall, and which means it's also 160 millimeters wide. Go figure. Who knew? 45 triangle, Pythagorean. Pythagoras having a grand old day, but that works. What I have and what I use most of the time when I'm doing these things, because I do a lot of woodwork and I collected a bunch of tools while I was doing the woodwork, is one of these. This is a very abused, not very well taken care of, but still very square, reference square. It's heavy, so it'll just set. I know this angle right here is absolutely square, and I know this here has enough metal to it that it isn't going to bend. It hasn't been bent, so I know that's going to be square too. And so I've got a really good way of banging this thing up again there, and it again there. Listen to me. I'm from East Texas. Sorry about that, guys. Banging this thing up against and knowing that I've got an absolutely flat 90-degree surface. Saying all that, your printers will be very, very close to 90 degrees. They're not going to be exactly 90 degrees because of manufacturing defaults. You will be amazed at how something looks 90 and looks flat up when you're butted up against, and it's not exactly flat. And we'll see some of that. For instance, my printer that I'm built is probably about 2 millimeters, maybe 3 millimeters off at the tallest, at about 19 inches over the course of it. So it doesn't take very much of anything to make that off, but it shows up. Also, very, very important, this is not an SD card. This is an SD card adapter. You don't need an adapter. What you need is to be able to read and write full-size SD cards. Okay? If your computer has it on there, my Mac does. My Surface Pro 3 has a micro SD card adapter. It'll easily slip into here and then plug into the card. We will not be printing, or I will not be showing you how to print through the computer. We'll be printing through SD cards, and we'll discuss why that is. Initially, I do have plans on working through how you do all that, printing right out of a Windows 3D Creator, hopefully, eventually, and making that work. So, see what else we got here. Something you may want to get a hold of. If you guys are barbecuers, you might already have one of these. Probably doesn't look this nice because I've only used this a couple times. When you're grabbing that thing that's 210 degrees Celsius, one, you can't grab it long, and two, if you do grab it, you're going to have a problem. So, how about just don't grab it? Or grab it with something to protect it. This is a Home Depot. I'll put a link in there. Again, totally optional because we can get this done without doing that. And of course, I'll have this with me as well so we can all borrow it and share it around. What else? Oh, yes. Fun stuff. One of those. This is an optional item as well because I'll have a couple of these, and I'll have a couple of those, and a couple of these. Now, what am I saying those for? Well, I printed you guys some things. This is a thumb screw. Still got some little wisp on it from the called brim from the printing process. And I made everybody 4 of these because they're going to go on the very, very small and hard to turn thumb nuts, which I thought I did not need until I actually made these things and put them on there, and then bed leveling became way easy. So, what do you need these for? I happen to have one of these old Arians sitting around. You don't need very much. See how that inner diameter there? That's what you care about. We're going to get a piece of one of these metal nuts, put it on the top of it, put this on the top of it, and we're going to tap it in. You're not going to have to beat it hard, but you are going to have to be firm with it. If you don't have one of those, notice what you really care about is you want this lip here to be able to engage on the nut, and then you can tap down on it to make it go in. The nut is slightly larger than this hole, so it's a press fit. So it's a press fit, so once it gets pressed in there, it's not going to come out. Excuse me. Alright. A couple more things that you may want to bring. You'll have plenty of tie wraps. I'll have some tie wraps too, in case we need to blow them up or tear them off and try again, that sort of thing. Feel free to bring your own. I'll have plenty there, but you'll have plenty in the kit itself. This is just in case you don't like the color. They'll be black, by the way. Oh, the other thing, when we're talking measuring, I forgot all about that. Measuring tape would be good. Oh, look, more of my $1.99 set from Fry's. That could be good. One of these can be good. You're just going to need something measured longer than 6 inches, which I know there's a joke somewhere there, but I'm going to leave that alone. So that's also about 6 inches, but that's in millimeters. That's one of my favorite handy tools, by the way, because as I'm walking, going around, I can easily measure the depths of something. Now I know that that's right at 20 millimeters, or 10 centimeters, whatever you want to call it, or 2 centimeters. 10. The shifting of decimal points is killing me. So I know where that is, and so if I want to go measure things, like you're measuring half of something, you go, oh, that's a little bit too far, put it back. That's about half. Makes it about half that way. Oh, it's about half, so you can make a guess there, right? Especially if you got something too hard to put this edge up against. So you need something larger to measure with than 6 inches. See what else? Oh, and you'll need something to tie things up with. You're not going to need much. You're not going to need a lot of it. You need about a couple of feet at most. I will have some of these that you're welcome to borrow. I will also have some of this. Remember this from the stripper demonstration. That's the wire stripper demonstration. I'm going to abuse my solid core wire here and strap it around. We'll have a need to strap things out of the way on occasion, and this will be a good way to do that. These things here, I've got one of them on my printer right now. Does a pretty good job of keeping some things together, even though I need to redo that and do a better push around, do a better layout to make that better push around. So okay, I know that was a lot. Hopefully you guys fast forwarded through some of that. In case you're wondering, yes, I have done some printing for you guys. Everyone is going to get 8 of these. This is 2 printers worth. This is what we're going to use to mount your printers down to the table that I want to get you. Okay, that's the wife calling. Guess I got to go. I'll see you guys in a little bit.